Hello, I'm Stephen Catanzano, Senior Analyst with Enterprise Strategy Group. I'm joined by Brian Beals and Stephen Kavlik from Levi, Ray, and Schaup. It's great to be here with you both. Let's start with some introductions. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian Beals. I'm the director of the LRS Analytics and AI Group. I've been with LRS for a little bit over 8 years, and our goal here is to really help our customers find and leverage the value within their data.
Hi, I'm Steve Kavlik. I'm the Senior Solution Architect in the Analytics, AI, and Automation Group at Levi, Ray, and Schaup. I've also been here for a little bit more than 8 years, but I've been involved with data stores, information management, data visualization, and now AI and automation for over 25 years in a technical pre-sales role supporting a number of different technologies.
Great. Maybe we can start with kind of an overview of the company and share your strategy on how you like to work with clients.
Levi Ray and Schaup, or LRS, is a privately held global software and technology company. We're based in Springfield, Illinois. We're a tier one systems integrator and an IBM Platinum business partner. And we've been in business for a little over 45 years and have roughly 1,000 employees globally.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'd say, as an organization, we're really laser focused on helping our customers solve complex business problems by reselling and implementing solutions around data, analytics, AI, and automation. LRS also has practices around cybersecurity and hybrid cloud infrastructure. And as far as the way we like to work with customers, we don't consider ourselves a transactional organization, and we don't concentrate on products. We like to become really strategic with our customers and getting to know all levels of the organization. And with that, then we focus on helping them solve really complex business problems. So, we don't go to our customers every month with a brand new product. We really focus on business challenges, the value of fixing those challenges, and then we bring the right solutions and the right technologies to fix them and then improve business metrics and KPIs.
Well, thank you both. So let's discuss the critical importance of data readiness. While organizations have long recognized the need to have trusted data, our research reveals that only 47% fully trust the data they have for decision making. So to begin, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to define data readiness.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think before we get into explaining what data readiness is, I think that everyone should understand why data readiness is important. Now, data readiness represents and really is competitive advantage. If you think about the ways that organizations can stake out a place in markets and create advantage, there are a couple that come to mind. One is scale. So think about really big companies like Walmart, Amazon, FedEx. Right? They're so big they enjoy purchasing power and economies of scale that not everyone else can. The other one is another one that I would say is something called networks. So think about Meta. I just read a stat that every day there are about 3.3 billion people around the world participating in one of their apps. So this is just a great way with that many people, right, for them to sell targeted ads. I think another way to achieve competitive advantage is through data. So just about every company, right? Every company does have information about their products, about their services, about their partners, about their supply chain, right? So if you're an organization and you don't have scale and you don't have this network ability, you do have data. And every single company, every single organization has the ability to be great at managing their data. So because data represents a competitive advantage, it really behooves a company to master their data and to use it to their advantage. Now, I think as far as what is data readiness, we look at it under maybe four different attributes. First of all, data has to be accessible, it needs to be accurate, it needs to be secure, and it needs to be traceable. And when we talk about accessible, it just means that you, as an organization, you can get to the data. It doesn't get tied to a particular application or particular vendor or a proprietary analytics tool, and it's not locked up in some kind of silo. And I think that one of the things that we believe is that it's always true that combining data sources gives you that much more power than results that come from sources that are taken individually. And I think under accurate, right, as you look at your data, right, you're going to see a lot of problems, missing values that are just incorrect, misspelled words and text data, just plain old, ambiguous data. That stuff needs to be fixed. We talk about secure. It means that the data is protected from inappropriate access. So you have to put some guardrails around it. And when we talk about traceable, that just means that you know where your data came from, what was done to it, and then you have confidence that it's accurate. And another way to say this is data lineage. So knowing your data source is particularly important for AI projects. If your application gets trained on bad data, you're going to have bad results. If you have bias in your data that you train an AI model with, you're going to have biased results.
Those are all great points, Steve. I'd also like to add data retention to that list. What's the policy for each classification of data, when to dispose of it, and when to keep it, right? There could be a lot of liability in that information, both for keeping it and disposing of it. So a lot of planning goes into the best approaches for addressing data readiness, and selecting the right partner can be critical for the success of data readiness. And we at LRS are um, always looking for an opportunity to help better our customers with those endeavors.
Great. Yeah, let's focus in on a couple of those areas, like data quality, for example. How should organizations be thinking about getting that quality that they need for both AI and for just operating their business for decision making and more?
Yeah, whether it be general data quality, having complete, accurate, and timely data is a must for the success of a data-driven organization. When we think about AI, data quality significantly impacts the performance of large language models, or LLMs, by directly influencing the accuracy, the relevance, and the reliability of their outputs. Poor data quality can introduce bias and inaccuracies into the training process, leading to unreliable and potentially misleading results from a data model. While the high quality data ensures that the model learns accurate language patterns and generates coherent, contextually appropriate responses.
Yeah, great points, Brian. I think just in general, when we look at scaling AI and the role that data readiness, data quality plays, I think there are three big really challenges in scaling AI. One is around data challenges. Everyone's got those. I think there's an issue with talent scarcity right now. And I think there's also trust issues with AI. And I think the data and the trust issues are definitely linked. So the data needs to be trustworthy so that your reporting results, as well as your AI output, can be trusted. Right? There is not one executive in corporate America that wants to make an investment in an AI initiative where it can't be trusted. So we think that a great place to start with data quality is with a knowledge catalog that can be used as the basis for data readiness and data quality. So, before you get to a point where you can cleanse your data and where you organize your data, you have to understand where your data is, and you have to understand what its purpose is. Once you do that, then you put it into a centralized hub or a catalog, and that can be, definitely a challenge, especially in today's environments where companies have dozens or even hundreds of applications with data silos that are on premise and scattered across multiple clouds. And we're not saying that it's wrong to have data all over the place, but if you have an enterprise knowledge catalog, if you have a centralized hub that provides governed access to all of your data sources, that's really the first step. So with a catalog, you can create and apply data quality rules across all of your sources. You can create and apply consistent business terms across all of your data sources. And the same thing with governance rules as well. So this just ensures that when a knowledge worker, a business analyst, or a data scientist goes to the catalog, everyone understands that the data hasn't been improperly used and it hasn't been altered in any way that isn't already approved. The data is trusted, and there's a set of standards that are wrapped around it.
Great. Yeah, just you touched on governance. Is there more about governance that people should be thinking about? It's important for AI models, especially when you take enterprise data and build a model with it. That governance is becoming a critical, important part.
Yeah, I think when we talk about data governance, we really are thinking about the management of data availability. So any organization has to govern the data to ensure that only permissioned users have access to the data. This just ensures that the data is used correctly, that it's used ethically, and that it's used in some cases legally. So remember, data is increasingly subject to regulations, right? We already have things like GDPR and CCPA. More regulations are coming at the city, at the state, at the national and international level. So really just controlling data access protects you. It protects your organization's reputation. And if you're publicly traded, it also protects your market capitalization.
Yeah, all great points, Steve. Data governance has a significant impact on large language models and AI. I don't really view it that much differently than data quality, right? Governance needs to ensure the quality, accuracy, and ethical use of the data used to train the model, ultimately leading to a more reliable and unbiased output.
How about security and privacy on that data that you're going to use in these models?
Yeah, again, security can have a huge impact on AI. Without it, you'll introduce things like information leaks. You could have unauthorized access to the data, or even possible manipulation of the data used to train the model, which could produce an inaccurate or a biased output. We need to ensure that the AI is used ethically, and securing your data is an imperative, and the business reputation is going to depend on it.
And what about, I know there's always this balance that people need to achieve too, between ensuring data accessibility while also maintaining strong governance and security. How should someone be looking at that?
Yeah, I think definitely security and privacy has to be a consideration from the beginning. Um, a lot of AI initiatives, tend to stall out early, even in the pilot stages, just due to the data quality issues, but also some security challenges. While organizations, data scientists can go to their large language model and they can change inference parameters to achieve some short-term gains. Ultimately, when you're looking at the success of AI over long term, it really depends on the data quality and the accessibility and security of data that feeds that. And I think that enterprises that prioritize data integrity and security from the onset, ultimately in the end are going to be those that leverage Gen AI and traditional machine learning the most successfully. I think just in terms of privacy, right? Privacy isn't keeping data hidden. Right? Data has to be used. For example, an online retailer, right, can't ship you what you order online if you don't give them their address. Privacy really becomes a problem when the context of how you use that information changes. Shipping you your a birthday present for someone is fine, but selling a phone number or that address to a telemarketer is definitely out of bounds and not very cool.
Yeah, and so far we've talked a lot about the technical side, data quality, data governance, data lineage, all the things that are really important to get right in order to use that in the business and for AI as well. What about on the more business side of things or the people side? It's a kind of a cultural shift for a lot of companies to start thinking about how they're importing their data, how they're using their data. What kind of recommendations do you have for people to get into that mindset within a company?
Yeah, there's a couple challenges again. And we've talked about some of them before, but I think when we look at scaling AI and then how it's related to data, we have data silos, but we also have some self-imposed political organizational silos that we've applied, right, for some reason. So, to say, for example, the marketing department has a great set of data, but they want to hang on to it and don't really want to share it with anyone else. They consider it theirs. We need to break down silos of all kinds if we're going to be able to scale and take advantage of AI. And the other issue is a little bit of fear around the future of the jobs that are done by humans right now. And I think what we have to do is just realize that and share the message that AI's value is in its ability to harvest every single bit of information and use that to make better decisions. AI is really going to become core to everyone's business, especially business processes. So every single business process we believe is going to be reimagined and it's going to be improved with predictions. It's going to be improved with automation. It's going to be improved with optimization. So one of the challenges and one of the things that have to occur early on is to get human beings used to working with agents or bots and do it in a way that shows them that they don't have to have fear of being replaced by technology. And one of the things that we've seen that's been really successful has been having a center of excellence. So with a center of excellence, you can develop pilot projects. You can document the lessons learned about things that went well and things that didn't go well, and then you share them across the entire organization. This approach really has a lot of benefit, especially around speeding the message that AI is a gateway to awesome new and better ways to work. It also proves that AI is not mysterious, it's not a black box, it's not a threat, but it's something that anyone can learn about and anyone can explore. AI should really be an opportunity for everyone.
Steve, I couldn't agree more. AI projects need to be a collaborative initiative with the line of business working very closely with their technical colleagues. The risk and potential cost to the business must be considered when working together as an organization. Will provide your best odds for success, right? If we build it, they will come. I think those days are past us, and they really do need to collaborate together to be successful with these new endeavors.
Yeah, in order to achieve this, companies need to be thinking about sort of data from collection all the way through to processing and AI and sort of throughout the whole organization. So this sort of modern data platform that they need to be real preparing and working with. And we did a recent study, and what we found is that companies are really focused on 50% of them aiming towards enabling faster decision making, 19% seek a competitive advantage, 16% focus on employee empowerment, 15% prioritize customer enablement. So all those things are about sort of transforming a company into a very data-driven company. So what are your thoughts when people, with these goals that companies have in mind, how do you help them with this sort of transformation journey that they're all on?
Yeah, this is a great point, and I think we've made the point a couple times already that the whole of your data is worth more than the parts. So we view one of our jobs, one of the things that we can help our customers do is to really break down and smash silos of all kinds and just make it easy to integrate, say, financial data with supply chain data, for example. Democratizing data is always a game changer, right? It puts the right data in the hands of the right people at the right time, whenever they need it. Using a modern data architecture like we've been talking about here today really is all about increasing the speed to decision and the speed of digital transformation.
Yeah, and some of the key benefits that we see with that, obviously democratizing the data is really important. For example, finance data that might be locked up within finance, making sure you're sharing that amongst your other business units so it can be used elsewhere. Being able to empower faster, better decision making, the ability to feed downstream analytical processes, and let's not forget about enabling employee and customer self-service, and not to mention satisfaction. Right, improving customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction, I think, is a goal that most organizations are faced with.
Great. Yeah, I think those are all great examples of how AI can really help companies achieve them as well. And when we think about this too, so it'd be great to see any real world examples you might have. I know you work with a lot of companies, so anything come to mind that you can share of how people have gone through this process and journey and successful?
Sure. Yeah, one comes to mind. Right, one of our customers is a very large scale distribution and logistics company, and when we first met them, we first started working with them. Their tool of choice for data integration and visualization was Excel. And because there were so many manual processes around integrating the data and around visualizing the data, there were tons of errors in the spreadsheets. And just about every single report that they created had to be re-verified. Again, they had to do that manually all over again. So what we did was design and implemented a modern data architecture for them. And I'd say, even though at the beginning they still had their eye on predictive and AI, the biggest benefits at the beginning for them were probably the least sexy that you could think of. We basically automated data pipelines and reports 100%. So, for example, they had a period sales summary report that before the pipelines and before modern technology, it took them 240 man hours to create. We automated that and automated 100%, and then it took 0 man hours to create. So it freed up a ton of people to do a lot more valuable work. And I think over time, the company really became more comfortable with their data. They became more comfortable with the tools that they implemented. They just gained a lot more experience, and they used the same information architecture as the basis for predictive applications, and then actually for training data for some AI applications around use cases such as categorizing emails to customer service agents. Thousands of these every day based on sentiment for routing priority. And that's really just one of the things that they're using AI for right now. But I think it really is a great example showing how having a strong information architecture really sets you up very nicely for AI applications in the future.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's a really great example, and especially how people can increase productivity and ROI. It's you can see where the advantage is right away. Let's zone in a little bit on Gen AI, since that's on everyone's mind. We did a recent study, and we found that on average, companies have about 15 different use cases that they're looking at to go to market with. How do you advise people on how to really get started?
Honestly, AI and data management are not easy. I think a lot of organizations aren't really prepared for the effort and cost that it takes to do this. We worked with one insurance company that I'd say was the exact opposite of the successful customer we just talked about in the previous question. And They were a life insurance company, and I'm not sure if you've got life insurance or you've applied recently, but when a person applies for a life insurance policy, they have to undergo a physical and they have to share medical histories. And all of that information goes into something called an attending physician statement, or APS. And at this insurance company, there were a team of people that manually read every single one of these summaries. And they looked for certain words, certain medical measurements, certain conditions, and then routed them for approval or denial. And they asked us if that was something that could be automated with AI. Now, we spent a lot of time talking to them about their data sources, which, as it turns out, weren't documented. We asked them about their rules for decisions, which also weren't documented. Finally, they asked us, like, why are we taking so much time wanting to understand their data sources and wanting to understand their process? Because they thought that AI was just a black box that already knew everything. And all you had to do was just ask it questions. They didn't think you had to prep it or train it or do anything. So this company clearly wasn't ready for business transformation. I think, though, like, if you want to prepare for that, I think some good next steps, especially if you're in the very early stages, first of all, like, have a vision and share the vision for AI and for digital transformation, like, throughout the organization. Like, drive that home, go crazy with the messaging. Another thing that you can do is to start upskilling your employees, get them prepared around things like data ops and Gen AI. And then a third thing would be to start looking at all of your business processes and workflows and try and figure out how to get AI and automation into them. This is how you can, right, really start to have the benefits snowball and get AI at scale. And then finally, as you look at all of your processes, as you look at all those workflows, just focus on the dull, repetitive ones that drive people crazy. I think technology has always had a history of replacing dull jobs and freeing up people to do other things that are more productive, that are more exciting, that are more valuable. Think about when the Romans invented aqueducts. Were water carriers the people that carried water around buckets upset? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I'd also add to that, start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. The most AI mature organizations that we work with have started with things like generative AI chatbots to address a business problem. It's important to see how Gen AI is going to be received by an organization, and adoption needs to occur at all levels, both internally and externally.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I really like start with the mundane tasks. Nobody likes to do them, and they can easily be automated with Gen AI, and they can focus in on one use case to get started. So unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today. This has really been a great discussion. Do you guys have any final thoughts on any related emerging trends and technologies you'd want to share?
Yeah, I think there's one that comes to mind. I think that it's growing in importance, and that's around data observability. I think as we begin to set up more data pipelines to feed your AI models, to feed your predictive applications, to feed your reporting repositories, you never want your customers or your end users to be the ones to tell you that there's some sort of inaccuracy in the data. So there are data observability platforms that are becoming more popular, and you can just think about them as early incident detection platforms. So they have the ability to go out and quickly identify unknown data issues, tell you when your pipelines are running long, tell you if the pipelines fail. The whole point here is that you want to reduce the mean time to detection of data issues from possibly days to really minutes. Also just helps eliminate unplanned downtime around application and AI models. The other thing that these applications, the data observability can do is we all know that data pipelines don't work solo. So understanding the impact of data incidents, both on upstream and downstream pipelines and data flows, is something that an observability platform can help you with.
Brian, anything to add?
It's okay if you don't. Really, Stephen. We'd like to thank you for your time today and the work that you and your team have put into researching important business issues, like data readiness. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you today.
Thank you, Brian and Steve. I really enjoyed our conversation. And to anyone watching, to discuss your AI and data challenges or request a free assessment, visit lrs.com. Contact your local LRS account executive or email analytics@lrs.com. Thanks for joining.